Have you noticed? There are people who walk into a room and simply enjoy being there. Then there are people who walk into the same room and, without even realizing it, immediately begin managing it. They notice what needs fixing, what could go wrong, who seems uncomfortable, what decision still hasn't been made, and which small detail everyone else appears to have missed. Nobody asked them to carry any of that, yet by the time they leave, they're mentally exhausted because they were never simply present. They were quietly making sure everything worked, everything flowed, and everyone would be okay. If that description feels uncomfortably familiar, visit adhd-solution.com or click the link in the description. You'll find practical resources, articles, and books created for people whose minds seem permanently switched on. The difficult part about living this way is that almost nobody notices the invisible effort taking place inside your head. They see someone dependable, organized, thoughtful, and capable. They admire the fact that you rarely forget important details, that you anticipate problems before they happen, and that people naturally turn to you when something goes wrong. What they don't see is the cost of being that person. They don't see the constant mental calculations, the conversations that continue long after everyone else has moved on, the quiet pressure of believing that if you stop paying attention for even a moment, something important will inevitably be overlooked. Over time, this stops feeling like a habit and starts feeling like your identity. You no longer ask yourself whether something actually deserves your attention because your mind has become accustomed to treating almost everything as your responsibility. Someone mentions a problem and you're already searching for a solution before they've finished speaking. A simple decision somehow grows into an hour of analysis because you're trying to make the perfect choice instead of a good one. You explain yourself 3 different ways because you want to make absolutely certain you won't be misunderstood. You offer help before anyone asks because allowing things to unfold naturally feels far more uncomfortable than stepping in. What's fascinating is that none of these behaviors seem irrational when you look at them individually. Planning ahead is sensible. Being organized is a strength. Helping people is admirable. Thinking before acting is usually wise. The problem is that your brain quietly stitches all of these perfectly reasonable behaviors together until they become an impossible standard to live by. Eventually, you feel as though you must always be prepared, always be available, always have the answer, always prevent the mistake, always remember the detail, and always make the right decision. It isn't one responsibility that's exhausting you. It's carrying all of them at once. That's why so many high-functioning people reach the end of an ordinary day feeling strangely depleted. Nothing dramatic happened. There wasn't a crisis. You weren't climbing mountains or working 18 hours, yet somehow your shoulders feel tight, your mind refuses to settle, and relaxing almost feels undeserved. While your body has finished the day, your brain is still reviewing, correcting, anticipating, and asking itself whether there's one last thing it should deal with before it finally allows itself to rest. Unfortunately, that moment rarely arrives because there is always one more possibility to consider. One of the greatest illusions of control is the belief that carrying more will eventually make life feel lighter. Your mind promises that once you've solved this problem, organized that situation, helped this person, checked that detail, and made the perfect decision, you'll finally feel calm. But peace keeps moving further away because the goal was never to finish. The goal quietly became making absolutely certain that nothing would be left to chance, and life simply doesn't work that way. There will always be another conversation, another decision, another unexpected situation, another opportunity to wonder whether you could have handled something differently. The tragedy is that many people spend years believing this constant pressure is simply the price of being responsible. They don't realize they're confusing responsibility with ownership. Being responsible means doing your part. Ownership is believing that every outcome, every misunderstanding, every mistake, every delay, and every loose end somehow belongs on your shoulders. Those are two completely different ways of living. Yet when you've spent years trying to keep everything together, they become almost impossible to separate. Imagine what would change if your mind no longer believed it had to carry every possibility before it happened. Imagine making a decision without reopening it 20 times afterward. Imagine allowing someone else to solve their own problem without feeling compelled to rescue them. Imagine ending a conversation without mentally editing every sentence you spoke. Imagine sitting down in the evening and discovering that your brain has nothing left to prove because it finally trusts that good enough really can be enough. That isn't laziness. It isn't carelessness. It's freedom from a pressure that most people don't even realize they've been living under. That's exactly what you'll discover in How to Let Go when you're a control freak. You'll learn why control feels so comforting even while it's draining your energy, why overthinking disguises itself as responsibility, why your mind keeps trying to solve problems that don't belong to you, and how to loosen your grip without becoming disorganized, passive, or careless. You'll discover practical ways to reduce your mental load, stop fixing everything, make decisions with greater confidence, communicate without over-explaining, and finally create room in your life for something that constant control has quietly taken away: genuine peace of mind. If you've spent years believing that your value comes from carrying more than everyone else, perhaps it's time to discover what life feels like when you carry only what is truly yours. Visit adhd-solution.com or use the link below to get your copy of How to Let Go When You're a Control Freak and begin replacing constant mental pressure with clarity, confidence, and the freedom to finally let go without losing the strengths that make you who you are.